it hurts a lot of people. Micah, I'm not immune or insensitive to that fact, but I think in the long term, it will be a good thing if aid is suspended in the global south.
And what I'm saying is that Wangusi, what I'm saying is aid has been disabled. Watch and see how our numbers are going to be affected. Watch and see how disease is going to cut
No.
Hunger and all this. And the reason I'm saying that, remember when I started talking today, I said what? All this is eugenics. All this is in Project 2025.
No, there's that plan. The plan is to assert racial superiority, to affect the brown peoples of the world. So let me just say this, Mika, and I'll get to some of the issues that you've raised as well. So the irony is, the people of Turkana may just realize that the whole time they were not even receiving the services at the level they thought they should have. This was just a dependency, right? So if let me go back to the number that I gave you. So $637 million, that's 0.5% of our GDP.
Yeah.
Being pumped by one organization as aid. Then all these other aid organizations investing slightly, significantly less, but nonetheless it's important. So what might happen is Turkanans might realize that with or without aid, this money was not reaching us to begin with. Because if Millennium Water Alliance or the aid organizations that are working there, Catholic Relief Services, had actually been pumping that money to develop a world-class water system, they would not have the problem they have right now, right? But where has all that money evaporated to if these investments have been made continuously over the last 30 years? Think about it. Like if, let's say, I don't know what the number is, but out of the 637 million, let's say, 5% of it ends up in Turkana. How much is that? That's about $3 million US dollars per year. We're talking about per year. Multiply that by 30. Means about $100 million should have been invested in Turkana. $100 million is not pocket change. That is a lot of money.
Yeah.
If it was only going into hospitals and the water system just to provide that primary care, there should be world-class medical facilities in Turkana. There should be world-class water systems in Turkana. But if you go there's nothing. There's a couple of boreholes, some that work, some that don't work. People have done experiments. They've bought big cars. They've got big salaries, and they're out of there. Right? So maybe the people of Turkana might realize that we didn't need these people to begin with. The other thing, historians have described this in different ways. So the only way that societies innovate is when they are innovating out of their problems. They are solving problems, right? Whether that's social development, trying to kind of maybe come up with better accountability systems, better systems of government, innovations like technology innovations that solve certain problems. Think about the U.S. in 200 years, 150 years ago. This country was plagued with civil war. The whole country was blanketed with conflict, tribal, ethnic, religious, racial conflict, right? And then not even 50 years after that, you are talking about putting a man in the moon, right? You are talking about the atom bomb. 50 years after that, they were putting a man on the moon. Think about that. 1865, when the Civil War ended, people were using horse-drawn buggies and fighting with muskets. 100 years from that, in 1965, they already had missions to the moon. The question I have is, will Kenya have missions to the moon in 100 years? The answer to that will still be dependent on aid. Because we are dependent, so we are not thinking about solving our own problems, right? So in the short term, it might look like a bad thing, right? It might look like a bad thing because you have these immediate needs. There's, hungry children in this part of the world. There's thirsty women in this part of the world. But if we don't start changing our behavior, because the spread of HIV is as much a function of medication and interventions as it is a function of behavior. So that is probably what needs to be changed with policy, right? And just communal behavior and acceptance that if we behave a certain way, the disease spreads. But if we know I can go and sleep around because now I'm getting free ARVs, of course I'm going to misbehave, right? So I think it's really a question of not where we want to go in the next 1 year, but where we want to go in posterity. Do we want to be a nation or a country or a region or a continent that is dependent on foreign interests to provide our basics, or do we want to be a country that is self-reliant? My thought is that if over the next couple of years aid is cut off, we are going to have to innovate. Turkanas will have to figure out how do we actually provide these services to ourselves. Now, Kenyans will have to think about their own democracy and how they develop it to fit their specific local needs.
So you bring up an interesting point, right? About, but see, the way that we are structured right now, government is not doing what they're supposed to do, meaning we don't have policies in place, we don't have the money being pumped correctly to bring the services, basic service. We're talking basic, we're not talking about because water is a basic, right? We shouldn't have NGOs supplying the water, right? But the fact that they are not should not mean that then now, because the funding has stopped, or it has the I guess the well has run dry, then now we become I guess self-reliant, and that self-reliance, we are not there. It took time for
but how will we get there if we
getting there should not be that we turn the tap off. That's not the way we get there.
But the intention,
it needs to be phased in, if you ask me. Right? Just like you're saying, if we're going back and we're interrogating and we're saying, okay, the big cars, the money in the corruption, the county's doing this because things were devolved, and the country should be providing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If Ministry of Health are the ones who are now saying, okay, we're going to manage ARVs and all of this stuff, and we'll make sure that it comes in, and so on and so forth. Whether it's with some intervention, I mean, even if it's not the US, it could be coming from Norway or whoever. It doesn't matter. But the whole point of it is that it needs to be phased in. It shouldn't be that one of, okay, boom, light switch on, light switch off, and expect.
But there was never any. There's never been any mechanism in place to phase in or to phase out dependency. That mechanism has never existed. The aid complex was there to stay.
Yeah, but see,
right?
the issue about the phasing in, right? That's where now the people, the leaders who are in power, or the people who are elected, are supposed to be able to.
But they have no. Well, how does that?
No, hold on. Let me finish. So the leaders or the people who are in power are supposed to be thinking of how they're going to get to that particular point, right? Or to that particular place. Because ultimately, it is not for those NGOs to do this indefinitely. The problem is that the way that the money is spread out when it comes into the NGO, the indefinite part is that today I'm going to be eating. Then tomorrow the next guy eats. Then the day after, the guy who's coming has come, whoever came in is eating. So this cycle of eating is a continuous cycle of eating, as opposed to saying, okay, we need to put policies in place and set it up such that these guys have got this structure in place, blah, 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 and say the Turkana government or whoever takes over those boreholes and takes over making sure that those things are supplied, those things are in place and they are working. I'll give an example for where I come from. It's an island. And we don't have there are no wires that are coming in. But KPL brings electricity in by generator. It's a generator that KPL is fired up, and it's down that supplying the island. And this is Kenya. So for somebody thinking about, they'd be like, huh? At what? It's a generator, and it's the generator that's because iko huko. Ikondani, it's not like the wires or cables are gonna go anywhere where you have those things, Nini. So the supply of elect there is coming in with it's coming in from the generator. Yeah. Right? Now when this generator goes out, it's a wrap. Kama hakuna petroli, it's a wrap.
Mm-hmm.
So that is not, in my opinion, that is not for the local government to say, okay, then now we're the ones who are going to have to go look for a way of bringing this up, right? Because that's something that they came up with a solution. They said, okay, we're looking around, the topography does not allow us to lay cable and to do all of these things, so we have to come up with a solution that's going to work. And that's the solution that works. And they build people and they do everything. So you, as a consumer, you don't know that your elect is coming via a generator. You don't know that that's what's happening. And so on the same token, if we can cut off this whole cycle of it's my turn to eat, that's where the problem is.
But that is happening.
It's my turn to eat is the problem, not the fact that we're getting aid.
No, but the point you're making is very important, and I'll give you the answer.
Okay.
So what just happened? One of the topics which Ali laid out was this guy called Waititu, but Waititu represents a lot of the first class of the freshman class of governors who came in under the new constitution, right? So we had the likes of Waititu, Sonko, what is the other Kiambu governor, right? Kabogo, right? So there was a certain caliber.
Kabafalo.
Yeah, there's a certain caliber of individuals who are riffraff, non-criminals.
These were previous MPs.
Yeah, but
who elevated themselves.
But it came with a certain persona. What has happened over but what has happened? Accountability structures have kicked in because the city of Nairobi, this is another sort of artifact of the way the aid complex works in Kenya. So they'll not fund any projects in urban areas. They're particularly focused in where the poor people are or where in rural counties, right? So in Nairobi, no Nairobian is sitting there waiting for USAID. No one is waiting for care.
No
one is waiting for food for the hungry. If you don't have water, it is because of your governor.
Correct.
If you're in Kiambu and you don't have water coming through your taps, and you know that Ndakaini Dam is just down the road, you go to your governor. And what has happened? There's an intake that has been built to provide water to the local community because of advocacy from the local community, and they don't have anyone else they can go to. A lot of the water services that are being provided in many of these counties are paid for by the users, right? They are through water use associations and water service providers. I know this sector well because this is an area that I work in. So what has happened over the last 5 years in Kenya, particularly in urban counties, accountability mechanisms are kicking in. If you are a governor and you are known to have stolen money, people start asking, where is that money? Because we need it for development.
Correct.
If you are a senator and people know that this guy, or an MP, and we know that this guy was given money for our bursaries and it didn't get to us, you're not waiting for an NGO. There was a time NGOs used to heavily operate even in urban centers, but they stopped. So this kind of complex has been pushed out into rural counties. So what is happening is accountability mechanisms are beginning to kick in. So all of a sudden, the pressure becomes, political pressure is built so much in the system that the president or the powers that be are forced to start investigating these cases, right?
Okay.
So this needs to happen across the country. Then folks in
agreement about
Somalis in Wajir and Garissa will start asking their local government, why is it that we have a multi-million mansion or building for your county assembly and you're running around in helicopters, driving SUVs, when we don't have roads? They start asking the questions to the right people. But then when you're having these services provided by an NGO, what do? You put your ball out. You become a beggar. So I think, in my humble view, it hurts a lot of people. Micah, I'm not immune or insensitive to that fact, but I think in the long term, it will be a good thing if aid is suspended in the global south.
It will be a good thing
over time. Yeah,
I agree with you. It will be a good thing if the whole world will be on a level playing field, where everybody trades with the other one on a level playing field, right? You want to deal with Africa? Trade. Don't come and do diplomacy. Don't come and do aid things. It's the same way. It will have been, but we know that it will never get there.
It will get there if the mindset of Africans and the recipients of aid changes.
You see, the people who are controlling the money right now already know that the resources in that continent right now, and with the knowledge that people have learned, these days people have learned a lot of things. That continent is shifting. You're not getting resources for cheap money. What they're trying to do, they're trying to make it poor again. Make it poor again.
Why? What is the defense, Mike? I'm not getting you. So what is the defense of the aid complex coming back? You know, the largest contributor. What is the defense? What is the basis of that defense? Yeah.
I'm not even defending the aid in anything. I'm talking about the action, the consequence, what they're doing with that. Right? They're not taking aid because they're feeling it's corruption. It's a small amount of money that they don't even feel the waste of it. The amount of money that America uses on defense is enough to improve everybody's life here. Every American's life can be elevated more than 10 times if that money was kept in the country. We spend, America is the highest defense spend on defense.
Budget.
Correct.
It's the highest.
Yeah, it's the highest. And do you know the second highest spend of defense for America on military budget? It's not even another country. It's the Coast Guard. Right? And then before that, the people that follow in defense in the follow American defense are allies to America. So we don't need that money. That we don't need. But if we're talking about waste, we are wasting money in so many different places that if we pull it back. So for me, I'm not even talking about the aid. I'm talking about the impact that they know when they pull this aid is coming up. You look at the impact of it. You don't look just the way, look at the thing. Look at the things that are being done in the country right now. The things that are being done in the country are being done with immediate impact on certain things to weaken certain aspects of the country.
So I do have a question for you, Micah. So it happened already. So it wasn't even anticipated, but it has happened already. So there's a big chance, and from what I'm reading, a lot of the and I believe it's like 1% of the U.S. budget that goes into foreign aid. So most of this money is going to be pumped into DFC, the Development Finance Corporation, which is a totally it has a very different approach to development. It's not humanitarian; it's focused on infrastructure development and the likes. So the plug has already been pulled. The wire has been cut, been tossed out. USAID does not exist.
And that is fine.
The organization is a defunct. If you look on Wikipedia, it no longer says USAID is. It says USAID was, right?
You know, Wangusi, what you're not getting me.
So my question. No, I'm driving at a question here. So the plug has already been pulled, right? Now, nation states, including those that are heavily dependent. In fact, Kenya is one of those that is not, we are not in a bad way. There are countries whose, like Rwanda, for example, Burkina Faso, there's a percentage of their budget, significant percentage of their budget, which is supported by aid.
Their whole health system depends on aid. The whole of it.
So now, what happens? What is the way forward? Because the way forward is either you sit there and keep, shout louder and put your balls out, or you internalize that, you look inside and figure out, okay, with what we have, what are we going to do?
This is what we can do.
This is what we can do.
Who's the president of Burkina Faso?
I don't know.
Okay.
Burkina Faso is one of those countries that that cut off the French, right?
Yeah.
Is that the one with the military?
Ibrahim Traore.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna speculate, and I'm not gonna throw career things out there.
But the thing, and this is what I'm saying. When I say that, you see, when I'm saying that, I know we are going to have to get to a point whereby we'll have to survive and evolve, right? Yeah. And you said it pretty well. innovation comes when you want to improve your life. Innovation is caused usually by discomfort. Right? There's a discomfort that makes you want to create a certain comfort to yourself and to do things with. I work in the technical field. We innovate tech every day. We automate everything. We in the tech field we usually say if a language can be spoken, if something can be spoken in any written language, it can be spoken or written in any language. It can be coded. It can be automated, right? So the thing is, we understand that innovation is going to come in, that evolution is going to come in, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, if right now we have 1 million strong minds, and by the time we're doing that evolution, we are 200,000, we are 800,000 weak, right? Even if we make that evolution to support that 200,000, we still put ourselves at an impasse whereby our numbers are so less.
Yeah.
How do we sustain ourselves to continue growing ourselves? You see, and let's not lie to ourselves. Aid is gonna go back. Aid is gonna come back. It's only where America does foreign
espionage.
Forget espionage. What do you call it? No.
I guess it's diplomacy. Part of it is
the diplomacy. Yeah. It's sort of like Russia, China will go and help you overthrow somebody. They'll come and help you. America usually likes to deals, trade deals, money, aid, nini, build like we are your friends of you. That's how they usually do their foreign policy. So at some point it's going to come back once they see that China and Russia are taking advantage of that. At some point it's going to come back. It doesn't mean it's going to come back with this government or another, but it's going to come back.
Yeah, but
I'm saying is before it comes back or before we innovate ourselves, the damage that is being done it's a calcul. I'm not defending it. I'm saying this is a calculated.
But does that mean because the aid complex has been disabled? Because by the way, a lot of also this and
what I'm saying is that Wangusi, what I'm saying is aid has been disabled. Watch and see how our numbers are going to be affected. Watch and see how disease is going to cut.
No.
Hunger and all this. And the reason I'm saying that, remember when I started talking today, I said what? All this is eugenics. All this is in Project 2025.
No, there's that plan. The plan is to assert racial superiority to affect the brown peoples of the world. So there's two things I said earlier. So the first is we might just be surprised to realize, right, that anyway, most of this money did not even get to us to begin with. A lot of money is being thrown at aid organizations, but by the time it trickles down, it's very minimal. The impact is very minimal. I'll give you another example. So I come from a small village called Maturu. It's primarily family and clan members, people from my community. So our village has a really interesting history. So it was it started as a Quaker commune. I don't know if you know what communes are, but in the past when missionaries came to our region, and I think this happened across the country. They would set up within a friendly community, and then slowly build up from there. So the communities around there would congregate so that kids would get health care, go to school. They would set up a school. They would set up a clinic. They would set up a borehole or a water point. So it became like a convention ground. It kind of drew in the community. So my village looks very much like a commune. So there's a school, primary school, high school. Now there's years later there's a college, a school for disabled people. So we are very ideal community for NGOs to actually come in, because we are at a convenient distance. We're not too far from the road. We're accessible, and they can use that to go and tell their stories to get more money. So World Vision had been there for very many years. And what we realized, World Vision, and then they brought in other organizations which brought in like life straws, try and treat water and those kind of NGO interventions for kids and things like that. But when I look at our community, the most impact has only come from the things that we have done for ourselves. It was our grandparents who gave land to build a school, right? NGOs are not going to come by rules of engagement. They are not going to come and look in the community and say, okay, we want to build a school. How much land is there? We have $2 million for education. They're just going to come and kind of, scratch, touch the surface. They are not going to build a lasting institution. Our church, our local church, the wealthier members of the village gave land, established a school, and that is what became the foundation of progress within our little village. Over time, the local government, the county government came and because of lobbying from the village itself, they set up a polytechnic next to the primary school. We had already got a primary school and a secondary school. And then over time, the church, I was heavily involved with this under the Last Mile program. Okay, granted, it's funded by the World Bank, which is a development finance institution. It's not an NGO. So we're going to pay that debt whether or not we like it. Are the ones who went and applied for electricity. We helped do that. So electricity went to the school, electricity went to the church and the market center. What that meant is that a different set of businesses have kind of evolved out of that. So no NGO involvement. If I look at what NGOs have done, it's all on the walls, and I'll explain to you what that means. So there was an NGO that came some years back, and they looked at the data around like instances of waterborne diseases. So they started giving people this life straw. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like a little gadget that you fix to your to your bottle, and if you drink it, filters the water as you drink it and removes pollutants from the water, so it's safe to drink. And then there's another version of it which is installed on a tap. So we have our village has a little creek where we used to get water from there before people realized, wait, we have to actually develop the skill for actually digging boreholes because we can improve the water quality. That was not done by NGOs. That was done by local people. So we used to go to the river, and then this NGO came, and in the intake pipe they put that life straw. Maji kitoka ni safi. And then I don't know what happened. The filter in the life straw after the NGO had left broke. So someone took all those life straws, and now if you go into the houses in the village, they're on the walls like decorations. Right? So this is the work of NGOs, right? They've not built us a hospital. They've not built us a health center. They've not built us a school. They've not developed our community. So if you replicate that across the country, right? The lesson there is that unless we are self-reliant, we look at the problems in our own society as elders, as people in the diaspora. I look at the problems in my society and I realize the only way I can serve water services or improve healthcare in my village is not by coming and kind of whitewashing the problems. I need to put a water system there. I need to go to the government office and tell them, hakuna stima kwa village yangu. How do you do the application? I need to get elders together to go to Kenya Power tuandikishe watu waeke stima kwa hiyo village. We need to widen the roads. We need to put the stormwater system. That's what is going to develop Kenya, right? This is what is going to develop the global south largely. Mike,
Wangusi was telling you the one thing is, and not to beat into this aid conversation right now. If we talk about the World Bank and what they were actually funding in Kenya, they were doing more than just NGOs.
No, that's why I said they are a development finance institution. That's a very
no. Forget the World Bank. I'm talking about USA.
Yeah. No, USA. I mean, like, I have the list. I mean, we can put it up and look at it if you want. Like, if you look at the things
if you put up if you put up that list and you see that the money are not going, I can show you all the universities in Kenya are getting money from that, right? It was touching up to intelligence services in Kenya. So the money was going into so many places that it was, and it's not, and that is just Kenya. And if we look at other countries where that money in AIDS, in term of aid, where it was going, it was going.
But military spending is not should not be an aid package. That should be on bilateral.
And I totally understand you. Yeah. So for me, what I'm saying is that if you speak on this in this matter of US aid just in terms of NGOs, yes, you might point and say that okay, kuna waste. But then if you look at it in where the money was going, especially in the schools, in the healthcare side, all those level 4, level 5 hospitals that counties built, you find cancer treatment wards in different hospitals, treatment that people want, dialysis treatments in different places in the hospital. We cannot sit down and say that.
But Nani was here, Morara was here, and he has gone through those hospital after another across the country.
And then how many work? So you know what? You're counting the few that Morara is saying don't work. How many of them actually have hospitals that work?
No. But the question I have, Micah,
you know,
the thing is we cannot do that.
Let me finish. Let me finish. You know, we like pointing out negative things and pointing negativity because they make us look good or they make us look like we are pointing the realities of things. But also sometimes it's not bad when we say the things that actually work. How many hospitals are in Kenya that were not there a few years ago with the type of care that was there? The health system might not be working. The SHA and whatever might not be working. But if you go to different places, you'll find very good hospitals. I can tell you, my grandmother in Busia was doing dialysis. Ushago anatoka kwa boma anaenda anafanywa dialysis anarudi, right? Kwa sababu gani? Ya hiyo hosi yenye hiyo Kunyangu hospital yenye imetengenezwa hapo imepatiwa in part of money with the county government, another part of the money was coming from the donors.
Yeah, but what you're saying,
I'm saying if kama hiyo inafikishwa Busia, so we can say Morara amekuja akapoint out a few hospitals zenye county government wamekula pesa walikuwa nafaa kutengeneza and they didn't finish hawakumaliza part yao ya deal. But then we cannot come and turn around and say because Morara said that there are no other hospitals that are functioning.
No, but the one let me point this out.
If Morara points out 4 hospitals and we have more than 500 hospitals working in the country,
Micah, what I think I'm saying is not the status quo. It's aspirational, and on that we agree. So are we saying that the county government of Kakamega today cannot build a hospital with cancer, life-saving cancer, or high standard of cancer treatment or healthcare using taxpayer money? Is that what we are saying of ourselves? I mean, just think about what that means.
What you're saying is this.
When money is earmarked by an aid organization and they come with accountability standards in place, then the county government is obliged to either match or follow through because there's accountability structures that have been put in place by USAID.
And is that helpful or not?
No, it is helpful. And what I'm not saying, by the way, what I'm not saying is that aid is all bad. All I'm saying is as a consequence of aid, right? It's the same as social services, right? What do social services? Social services or handouts, they create a dependency. That's what we are saying. They create a dependency. So I think the county government of Kakamega now that they don't have these aid packages coming at them, will start to rationalize their own budget. So instead of thinking, we are going to spend 100 million on cars, suddenly they'll be thinking, wait, maybe we actually need to buy smaller cars so that we have money to build our hospitals, right? The other thing I want to say, and I think it's a good segue into the next topic we're going to be talking about, which is on security. If you look at just further afield in East Africa, right? We have this East and Central Africa, we have this conflict going on in the Great Lakes region. So I said this to a friend of mine, and they first got upset, then they stopped and they thought, right? So MONUSCO has been in North and South Kivu for the last we are now talking about 30 years, right?
Who is MONUSCO?
MONUSCO is the UN-led security team force in different iterations during the first Congo War, then the second Congo War, then now this new conflict. They've been there for 30 years. And I know I'm exaggerating and oversimplifying this, but M23 did what MONUSCO has failed to do for 30 years in one day. Right?
Which was what?
Which was establish the security situation within the region. Right? In one day. In just a few weeks. With the determination that, wait, we can no longer wait for these people to come and help us. And then as a result, what has happened? The East African Union and the SADC community have come together for the first time. Africans have come together to solve their own problems without being pushed by the UN, without being given threats by America, because America is focused internally.
It's not the first time they've come together,
right?
But that's okay.
So they've come together to solve their own problems. Now,
it's not.
We are not saying
we used to do stuff as OAU all the time.
Well, that was in the 60s during the Pan-African days,
in the
right?
60s. In fact, even when Muammar Gaddafi was still alive. So that was not. It wasn't. In
the 60s. So the point I'm making is, as we kind of figure out this whole dependency on aid, dependency on the West, and then you see what their intentions, their real intentions, in the fact that you had these mercenaries, right? Mm-hmm. That is what those people are really there for. They are really there for the wealth.
I think what we should do is we should provide context, give a background on what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because
so are we moving on now?
Yeah, no, I was just giving that as an example on the security side.
Have we left Ile?
No, actually, we need to leave the aid conversation.
No, we're going to leave. We're going to leave there. To make bigger. But this one jumped the gun. Because I was going to introduce the topic. Tumeongea sana. Because guess what? It's still an ongoing thing. It's still ongoing. And right now, it's still as he said, it has been cut, plug has been pulled, whatever wire has been cut. So right now, it's going to be a matter of trying to find stability. Maybe a backstop here, maybe a plug here, maybe a band-aid over here. Before now, again, before now, people realize that, did we really need the NGO, or these guys are just cooling our taxes? There's a whole, and we're gonna figure that out as time goes by. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to a non-core presentation of the OneMicShow. Today we have a whole lot of discussions.
Comments?
Comments. Relax, boss. Relax, because the main guy amepata ile ugonjwa ya njugushi, ile ya mask hiyo ayuko.
Ake Mungu, you guys are so wrong.
Ameenda.
Alikuwa anava kunini
hiyo. So wacha tukaribishe hapa Steven Jaganyi says Ali, hiyo ni ile homa njugushi aliongelea ama.
And he said this. Yes, he said this before.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I think Ali aliona comment akasema, wacha nifunge tu safari.
Karibu sana Anji, anasema Traore, when I was saying to think of the president for Burkina Faso. And resilient.
We were told over here.
Yeah. Resilient says they will continue with aid, but they want accountability. They are saying they want to make sure as they give out money, it aligns with their interests. And I think this is the US giving out aid.
But they're the same guys who have been giving the money out. When you say it aligns with their interest, what do you mean? They're the ones who came into these programs and they lined themselves up so that they could have themselves seen as the US. So, hapo kwa aligning the interest, they've already aligned the interest.
It's so bad.
The issue is not about aligning of interest. The issue is about...
But we have to also make sure we also have to do the same, right? It's so bad that when we write our budget, I've on three occasions been involved in a section of the budget writing process. We actually earmark aid. So we budget, we say, healthcare services, water services, HIV interventions, but we don't even have the money. We are not budgeting money we think we have because we know someone else. You tell the government agency, the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Education, go with your ball. Equally, one of the things we should do, Micah, to answer your question, we should also align that aid that is going to come, if it comes again, but we should also align it to our own values and to our own priorities, right? So that the government is saying, you guys can't just show up and take up a county and start giving services. There are accountability structures in place. Because for the longest time, the government has just kind of, stepped back.
Hapo sasa mahali kuna problem.
Yes.
Because they are the ones who tell us how to spend the money. It's not us who are telling them this is our need.
Yes. But if GOK said...
Hapo ndio pali kuna...
But if our president...
Kuna msosi, unacheza na msosi ya mtu.
Yeah, lakini kama serikali ingesema... Amwezi tu enda mkapatiana pesa kwa ma-NGO na kwa account.
Bro, unacheza na msosi ya mtu. Resilient continues to say, for how long will we continue to entertain mediocrity in Kenya? The money being squandered by the so-called politicians is enough to build Kenya. Why not get bitter with our leaders.
Asante. Resilience. You nailed that one.
Angie says it's the same as the welfare in the US, which has crippled the minorities.
That's BS. This is the same.
No.
This is the same Angie who lives in the South and says she's never seen racism.
I don't know. Resilience says we forget US has its own challenges. Trump is simply saying he wants to take care of his people. Nothing wrong with that. Kenyans, let us mind our business. Our business is Kenya, period. And of course, Angie agrees with the resilient.
They always agree with Angie is resilient and resilient is
Angie continues to say Kenyans must keep their leaders accountable, just like they are in the US. And Resilient says America owes us zero. It's not a must. They support us. And with a new government in the US, it's not business as usual. Interests have changed, says
Angie.
Higher.
Yes.
Here's the interesting thing.
Kuna comment ingine imeruka hapo.
Dr. Wangusi, please help me here. Resilience. Wacha. Here's the thing. Talking about
Andy is resilient and resilient is Dr. Wangusi.
Allah.
They are all the three people.
Son of a twanga. So here's the thing. We've been talking about we have been talking about doing us. We've been talking about catering to our own, doing our own, supporting our own. Now, you brought up something prior that we needed to talk about. So there's there has been this conflict going on in the DRC.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We do not know much about it. We do not. The only thing that we know is that there's M23, and M23 supposedly are supposed to be Rwandese, but they are working in the DRC.
No,
again, that some people know.
Okay. Is this the rumor or that's the thing that's out there?
That is the rumor plus what is out there.
Okay.
For some. Okay. That there is kuna M23. Mpaka Kagame came out and put out a statement.
Yeah.
Cyril Ramaphosa came out and said something or whatever. So there's been a brouhaha. Atujui.
Okay.
Tutioe.
So basically they're not sending each other Valentine's cards.
Atujui. Okay. Unlike Trump and the Secretary of Homeland Security guy, walifanya Valentine's card together.
Yes.
We will deport you.
Yes.
So I think it's, what's going on in the DRC? Like I watched an interview, and it was an explainer by Dr. Pielo Lumumba.
Yes.
Where I started understanding the history what's going on. But for our listeners who are Jewy, tafadhali, if you can, if you not, we'll support you. Summarize it in about 5 statements. But this is also part of, is this where, and I think Omosh mentioned or talked about how it's not the first time that Africa has gotten together to try to resolve an issue.
Correct.
Right? And providing support militarily or force or however you want to look at it. This is not the first time, but it has been done before, and I agree with you, especially when Gaddafi was in power. But we really don't know much about us. We really don't know so much about conflicts. We just hear about them, but we are bombarded with what's going on in Ukraine. We focus on that. We are bombarded with what's going on in Gaza. We focus on that.
Yeah, the Africa
right?
part is
Africa part. Even us as Africans,
not trickling for us this way.
We're not even paying attention to that.
Yes.
So there's also that, Dr. Wangusi.
So let me start with a disclaimer. Disclaimer and sort of some background about myself. So I'm Kenyan by birth, but I married in Rwanda.
So you're an M23.
You can say
M23
by marriage.
In fact, resilient. I pull it back. Dr. Wangusi is not resilient.
So the background is that I spent a lot of my the early part of my career in the region being mostly in Kenya, but also spent quite a lot of time in the Great Lakes region. And I sikutoka bure. So
it's his wife. I can't say the things I want to say.
Oh, sorry.
So M23. So the background here is, and it would be very helpful if you could put up the graphic we had discussed earlier. So the background here is that we have a community called the they go by different names. Some people call them Banyarwanda, others call them Rwandese, others call them Rwandans. There's Tutsi, there's Hutus, M23, Banyamulenge, Bafumbira.
Yes,
so there's a lot of verbiage that's used to describe the same ethnic community.
Use the verbiage we are familiar with.
The same ethnic community. Because the history is the Great Lakes region. The Great Lakes region here being primarily the area around Lake Victoria. There's Lake Turkana and other large lakes like Kivu. Had one kingdom, or this part of Central Africa being Burundi, Rwanda, North and South Kivu, and also Northern Uganda. Had historically was one kingdom called the Urundi Rwandan kingdom. So it was just a kingdom, much like the Baganda or I don't know, England, the United Kingdom. It was a kingdom that had almost a homogeneous ethnic group, or not homogeneous ethnic. Had a homogeneous ethnic identity, including a homogeneous ethnic language as well as culture. So between the Barundi, the Banyarwanda, who are the Rwandan speakers who live in Rwanda, the Rundi are the Kinyarwanda speakers who Kirundi and Kinyarwanda are really just the same language. It's like talking, it's like saying, it's not even like saying, Maasai and Samburu. Those are just, it's not even a dialect. It's the same language spoken by the same peoples, but in different geographical regions. So Kirundi, Kinyarwanda are the same language. So geographically they're in different places, and now in different countries. If you cross over to the eastern DRC, North Kivu and South Kivu used to be part of that larger kingdom, right? So in North Kivu and South Kivu, you have Rwandan-speaking population that are called the Banyamulenge. They are the same ethnicity.
Same people, yeah.
And then if you go to southern Uganda, you also have the Bafumbira, who are also again the same. It's the same tribe, ethnic group, same ethnicity, same language, same culture. And then you have other tribes which are ethnic groups which are related. The same way Kikuyus are related to Merus, dialects. They are dialects of the same language. Or if you talk about the Luya and the Samia, sort of one people. Is the map up?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at that map, you have, below Ganda, you have this little, green spot with Rwanda on one side, and then at the bottom Burundi. But across the border, the Banyarwanda, the North and South Kivu were part of that larger kingdom. So that map is like an ethnic map of a historic ethnic map of Kenya. So it's as though, when you talk about
take a screenshot, people. Take a screenshot.
Yeah, if you talk about Banyamulenge and Barundi and Banyarwanda, it's like saying the Maasai of Kenya and Maasai of Tanzania. These are the same ethnic group, right? And then within that ethnic group, ethnic community, they speak the same language. Bahutu, Banyarwanda, Barundi, Banyamulenge, etc. all speak the same ethnic language. They have the same ethnic culture. Just like Maasai is in Kenya, Maasai is in Tanzania. Somali is in Kenya, Somali is in Somalia versus Somaliland versus Somali is in Ethiopia, or versus Somali is in Minnesota for that matter. Or Oromos. So you have this colonial borders which were drawn in 1885 that started to cut these countries in different pieces. So amongst Banyarwanda speakers, you have different, I would characterize them as clans. Just like in Luya, you have, Batachoni, my grandmother, and Bakabaras, who are my grandfather's people. I'm sure even amongst the Luo, you have the Luo Abasuba, you have Luos from South Nyanza, who are slightly different ethnically. Maybe they have different dressing, the language is slightly different. So amongst the Banyarwanda speakers, there was a quote-unquote ruling clan who obviously came with certain features. Just I mean, if you look amongst if you are in my own ethnic community, my dad's ethnic community for that matter, or my mom's ethnic community, the Maasai, you have Maasais who look like Ethiopians. They've intermingled with, with the Cushitic communities. Then you have some who look like you and I. Then you have some who look different. So amongst even the same ethnic group, you have sub-clans of people with different facial and physical characteristics. Or some of those divisions were because of maybe economic activities, right? So within the Banyarwanda speakers, you have the Tutsi and the Hutu. The Tutsi were cattle keepers. Same language, same community. They lived in the same range. They were part of the same social system, but of different socioeconomic classes. Just like you'd have Morans who are, part of the warrior class. Amongst the Rwandan, Kinyarwanda speakers, you had the Tutsi who are cattle keepers in the plains, and then you had the Hutu who are agriculturalists. That was the difference. That was the only difference between these two communities. Then the colonial government came, and what they did was they applied that word you used before, Micah, eugenics, to start to now classify people as different ethnic groups. So they came with the rulers, charts for shades of color, and they now split this community into different socioeconomic groups, saying the Hutu are different people, the Tutsi are different people. These people are the same, but they speak a different language. If someone came into the Maasai community and started splitting people by height, even brothers and sisters would be split, classified differently, right? So that's what happened in Rwanda. And as a result, this feeling of resentment towards the ruling class grew, and they were identified as Tutsi. A series of wars happened in both Burundi, Congo, and Rwanda, the homeland, as well as in Uganda. And over those wars, there was refugee crises. In fact, there's a big refugee community that came in the 50s to Kenya, to Kericho. So, by the way, Banyarwanda are actually an ethnic group in Kenya, if you didn't know that. I knew that when they were doing the census. They came to our house, they asked, what ethnic community are you? I said, I'm a mixture of this and this. My mom is from Narok, my father is from Luya. They said, you're Luya. So they classified me. Then they asked my wife at the time, what is your ethnic community? She said, I'm from Rwanda. So which Rwanda? This one. Tutsi. Oh, okay. So now you're that. What about the child? I actually argued. I said she's half of one ethnic group. She's a quarter of my mom, quarter of my dad. So she should be classified as Rwanda. And by the way, by the time she was Rwandan speaking. Oh, they refused. They took the paternal line.
They go with the father.
Yeah, yes. which is also African debatable. But these are sort of the dynamics, right?
Always go with the father.
Yeah. So these are the dynamics that have been in play at a large scale.